first two weren't funny.
All right, so rest and restore yoga today, which means, so there have been a lot of restorative cards I have a card in my hand. There have been a lot of restorative classes that have become this like open your body until something stretches and releases. It's not what this class is going to be about. Our restorative classes are always about finding tension in your body and releasing it, which means finding ways to release stored tension, relaxing, softening, getting comfortable as we possibly can. No stretching. So for this class, grab as many props as you have. If you have something heavy, we have these beam pillows in our class. If you have something heavy, beam pillow, rice pillow, if you have a bag of rice, if you have something heavy you can grab for on your stomach for later, grab that. Grab a blanket, grab pillows, grab whatever you can, because we're going to go through about 3 poses with some meditation, and you want to be comfortable. So we're going to start face down. Lots of ways that you can come face down. This is the one pose that's supposed to be a little bit uncomfortable, but more uncomfortable mentally than physically. So your face down is supposed to be a little bit bringing stuff up. It's supposed to help you see what needs to come up and be addressed. So, but some people are perfectly okay with this pose, but some people are perfectly okay with face down. That's okay too. So coming face down in whichever way works best for you. You can come into crocodile, which is full face down. So laying flat on your stomach, one hand on top of another, and place your forehead on your hands. Or you can choose a child's pose and bring a bolster in underneath. You can see how Kaylee's like super helpful today. So child's pose with a bolster in underneath your belly. You really want to just get pressure from the hips. There's much pressure from the hips to the top of the torso. There's a bunch of nerves that we're trying to think about here. So if you go into this child's pose, you can come here. Same thing, bringing your hands in onto a pillow. A little bit of pressure on your stomach. I personally have trouble with my knees like this, my legs. You can bring a blanket in behind your legs and under your knees to help you in this pose. So taking your time, find your position that you want to be face down. What are you doing?
Can we do the one we always do? Bolster down.
Okay. Well, Kaylee's going to do bolster down. So you need to black things too.
Wait, what?
You need to get off the mat. Find. Very good. Find yourself face down. Take your time to set up. Find ways that you can be more comfortable. Sometimes when you're face down, if you're choosing this flat face down, it's more comfortable to bring something in underneath your feet. So finding ways to really start to land face down. Perhaps bringing a nice heavy blanket over you. Connect with the weight of the blanket. If you have the rice pillow and you're in the crocodile version, not the child's pose version, maybe bring the pillow to the back of the hips. So start to connect with the weight of gravity pulling you down to the earth. Find your breath. Find what your breath is doing when you go face down. Connect with that point in the middle of the forehead. Physically connect with it first. And then as if you could fall backwards from this point, land in the center of your brain, and then look back on your forehead. Allow your forehead to be like a projector, like a movie projector for your thoughts. As if you're resting in the center of your brain and you're just looking back on what's going on in your mind right now in this present moment in time. Can you check in with a little less judgment? Greeting yourself where you're at. Maybe greeting yourself with a little more kindness, the way that you would to a dear friend. Connect with landing onto the ground. Feel your torso land on the ground. Feel like the weight of the blanket or the weight of gravity is drawing you down more firmly to the ground. Connect with the muscles in around the shoulders. See if they can soften and release. Let go of their burden. Let the ground support you. Bring your attention to the back of your hips and see if you can allow some of these muscles across the lower back to become a little more soft. Release their burden and let your hips be fully supported on the ground. And then bring awareness from the crown of the head to the tip of the tailbone. And imagine you could draw a fresh breath in from the crown of the head. And it could slowly travel down your spine to the tailbone. And then with the exhale, sweeping away any tension, sweeping away things no longer needed. Breathing in fresh down the spine and breathing away tension. And we're using our imagination as a tool here. So imagine sweeping in fresh, releasing tension. Imagine this pathway, this energetic highway of our spine is completely free of any misaligned bones or holding patterns or accidents or tension or memories. You're just connecting with this energetic pathway that travels from our brain down our spine and then all the way back up. And whatever helps you visualize this pathway, maybe you give it a color or a temperature. Just beginning to imagine a freely moving highway of energy. Breathing in fresh from the crown of the head all the way down the spine, Sweeping away things no longer needed with the exhale. Slow, refreshing, gentle breath without muscular force. And then imagine the crown of your head is becoming a little soft, and as if you could take that energetic highway and plug it into an outlet, into a little energy source just outside of you. And that energy source contains precisely what you need in this moment. And then gently unplug from your energy source and return to just breathing in fresh down the spine and breathing out things no longer needed. And to come out of this pose, gently bring some awareness to the palms of your hands and place them on the ground. Feel the ground with the palms of the hands first. Begin to connect to all of the muscles down the front line, a little bit of engagement down the front line, and then press into the arms and send the hips slowly backwards. Finding a child's. You are already in a child's, just kind of removing the props a little bit and changing your child's just a teeny bit. Thinking about a little width and space along the lower back, resetting for a breath or two. And then we're going to move into a pose on our side. So you're going to come onto your side. If you do have a bolster, you're going to use the bolster. So you're going to bring your hip up against the edge of the bolster. No, it's not. That one's next.
Yeah.
So you want to try and get to the point where you are comfortable with a little bit of tinge in your side. So Kaylee, find something for your head to rest on. If you have a second pillow, bring your top leg onto the second pillow. Bring it out.
Ooh.
There we go. See how your leg changed? Now, if it is comfortable, some people are not comfortable like this, you're going to bring your top arm up overhead. So we're just thinking about opening the side body from the hip to the armpit. See, I can touch her because she's my daughter, but normally I wouldn't touch you in class. So just thinking about getting nice and open. And you can change where this top leg is. So maybe Kaylee wants to bring it down a little. Maybe that feels like a nicer stretch. Just watching the hips, watching that the hips feel comfortable. Kaylee's not comfortable with her arm up, so she's just going to move her arm where her shoulder is, so there's the most space she can find on the rib cage. Sitting here, A little weight on the hips if you're going to use the weight. How does that feel? Grounding. The weight is grounding. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for opening across the rib cage, whichever side you've got open, and grounding through the hips. Get comfortable. So we have two sides. So we're not going to stay in this one as long as we typically stay in a pose. We're just going to think about flushing that side rib cage. So whichever rib cage you have up, thinking about the rib cage. So start to think about each space between the ribs. Imagine you could really connect with sensation between each rib. You don't need to know how many ribs you have, but just imagine you could feel each and every rib and the gap in between. Starting to find a little opening in sensation across that rib cage. So now thinking about our breath. What does our breath do as we breathe in? It opens up and expands our rib cage. So imagine we could start pushing our breath between each rib, gently massaging those muscles in between the rib cage. Breathe in fresh across that side. Sweep away tension. Still feeling that deep grounding sensation of the hips. Allow the hips to be supported by the ground. We're opening up the side body and looking for tension along the side. So helping us feel supported can help us release tension. So think about grounding and opening. Grounding through the hips. Opening across the side body. Begin to think about more and more space between each rib. And then this time think about sending your breath down that side, all the way down to the tip of the toes on that side. And then sweeping back up. So breathing in fresh, sweeping away tension with the exhale. Inhale fresh. Exhale, release the tension. Maybe you're giving your breath a color or temperature, breathing in fresh down that side body, sweeping away tension. Send one more long, slow breath down the side body all the way to the toes and sweeping back up. And then very slowly, trying not to become too awake, you're just going to roll on over to the other side. So our bodies are not even. We have this concept that we want our left and right sides to be exactly even. Take the time to really let your body find where it wants to be on this side. Your leg does not have to be in the exact same position as it was on the other side. Maybe it feels better in some other position. Find the space where your hips feel nice and grounded. If you have the pillow, place it on your hips. If you have some weight, place it on your hips. And then connecting again. Finding that long, slow breath. Finding each and every rib on this side. And connecting with just gently pushing your breath through the ribs. When we're talking about long, slow breath, we're talking about gentle intention breath, not forcing with muscle. Not that that breath is wrong, just not what we're looking for right now. So gentle, let go of the breath and just bring it in fully with your intention. Try not to grip around the breath. Find each rib and gently send your breath in between each rib, making more space, as if your torso is becoming a little bit longer on this one side. And then gently imagine sending fresh breath all the way down to the tip of the toes, and then all the way back up, sweeping away tension along the side of the body, breathing in fresh, sweeping away tension with the exhale. Take one more slow breath all the way down this side to the tip of the toes, and then all the way back up, sweeping away anything no longer needed. And trying not to become too alert, you're going to roll over to your back. Hopefully you have the pillow. you have something that you can prop a pillow or a bolster, whatever you have, up on a little so that you have a little incline. Bring your hips to the edge of the bolster. And then a lot of people have too much going on with their head when they start to do this. You might want to bring a little more behind your head.
Ooh, better.
Better? Yeah. And then legs. Something in underneath your knees. Lift up. Comfy?
Mm-hmm.
So Kaylee's arms don't quite hit the ground in this position. So find something to prop in underneath the arms. And then, if you're working with weight, we're going to bring it across the front of the hips. Make sure that this is comfortable. Wiggle around. Make sure your lower back is comfortable because we're here for a while. So make sure that that's comfortable if you're going to have the weight. Try not to have your feet flopping around in space. So make sure that they know where the ground is. Letting go. Landing in this position, maybe even bringing something across the eyes to help really tune out the outer verse and tune into what's going on inside. So land in this position and take the time to feel all the little wiggles and adjustments that need to happen for your own comfort. Start to settle in. Begin to allow the hips to really sink onto the ground or onto the support below them. Think of all the muscles that hold the hips and help us run and move all day. Think of letting them go, letting them soften. This is kind of an open-hearted position. So quite often our posture reflects our feelings and our emotional state. So when we think of when we feel sad, we're often caved in, protective of the heart space. And when we feel bold and bright, we often lift our chest, shine our heart forward. So thinking now about our back. I have a teacher that likes to say we cannot have an open heart. We cannot live with an open heart if we don't have a strong back. We need that strong back to support us, lift us up, pull our shoulders back, lift our heart open, allow our heart to shine. So thinking about your shoulders, can they land a little more into the support behind them? Can you feel supported behind your heart? So in between your shoulder blades, on your back, can you feel supported? Your metaphysical heart, your center heart, not the physical heart. Can you feel support behind you? Begin to soften this space open. So really begin to focus in on the chest and softening here, opening here. If you like to visualize a color, Most often the heart space is green or pink. But if you have another color that works better for you, feel free to use it. Focus in on softening this space. And then imagine that there's a little hole right in the center of your chest. And from here is where we're going to breathe our fresh breath in. Breathing in fresh right into the center of this heart space, the center of our chest. Allowing that fresh to sweep across the front of the chest, across the front of the shoulders, even up in across the front of the neck. Maybe even down the front of the torso a little. And then with the exhale, we're sweeping away things no longer needed and letting them gently float through that center space. Breathing in fresh, sweeping away tension with the exhale. Imagine this fresh breath could soften all the little heart walls that we've built up around this space. And imagine it being not like you're bashing these walls down, but breathing in fresh, sending a little gratitude for the protection that they provided, and then allowing it to soften and let go. Almost as if we're giving ourselves a little understanding and compassion. We build up these heart walls and we tell ourselves these stories because it makes us feel protected, and that is okay. That is what we do. We don't need to beat ourselves up about it. See it, observe it, respect what it was. And then let it soften and let the emotion and tension around that soften and let go. Can you imagine this fresh, compassionate energy breathing in through your heart can start to trickle all the way down to the fingertips and then sweep away all the way back out. Any tension, any holding patterns. And then we're going to do a little bit of a kindness exercise, focusing in on those heart walls and the stories that we tell ourselves, the judgments that we place upon ourselves. So imagine you could stand above yourself right now and look down on yourself and notice exactly what comes up when you visualize yourself. What sentence, what harsh judgment, what thing came up when you began to look at yourself on the floor in this moment right now. Typically there's something that you're too much or too something, or should not have done something. Maybe it's simply, I'm so frustrated I was thinking about the grocery list. Notice what it is. Just notice. see what came up. See it. And imagine giving it like a little color or texture. Make that thought somehow visual to you. And then imagine sweeping it away. And then try looking at yourself again. Notice did another harsh judgment come up? And see if you can let that one go. And then run through this practice a couple more times, just gently sweeping away what comes up, and see if you can begin to look at yourself with love and kindness, the way perhaps a dear friend sees you, or a favorite relative, or maybe your dog. How does your dog see you? What does your dog see when he looks up at your face? Can you begin to see yourself in this way? And this is just a practice. There's no, we must get it right and we must be able to see ourselves without judgment. Just practice, just try. And then can you imagine a little glow? You're still looking at yourself. Can you see a little glow from that heart center? As if your heart light is shining forward. Can you see your heart light? And connect with the beauty of your own life force. And the spine is in the long position. Take your time to come out of this and try to roll to a side out of this, being gentle and mindful for the spine. So starting to bring a little awareness to the body. You're going to roll on over to a side. We're going to stay on our backs, but we're going to lift our feet. So Kayla's going to roll over onto the black mat. Black mat, there we go. And then if you have a chair, feel free to put your legs up on a chair or just lift them up on a bolster. We're gonna get nice and high with our feet. If you're using the weight, we're going to place it on our stomach. Your head is off the bowl.
I didn't scooch down far enough.
I know. I couldn't get you to move. Alright. Find yourself with your hips supported and your legs lifted. So maybe your legs are up on a chair. Maybe you have some pillows under your legs. Just want to try and have your feet a little bit higher. And a little bit of weight on your stomach if you're using the weight, a little bit of grounding. So we're still thinking about nice open heart space, but now we're going to think about the hips and grounding. If you did move to legs up the wall, be mindful of that pose. Sometimes this can be too tight on the lower back for some people, or too tight in the hamstrings. So bending the legs and letting this be more about getting the hips on the ground can be a little bit kinder to the body. So starting to land with your hips on the ground. Our hips are base, the thing closest to the ground. Like our hips and our feet are the thing closest to the ground, and the crown of the head is the thing that is closest to the sky. So we think of our head as our connection to spirituality, our higher power, and our feet and our hips being our connection to the ground, to earth, to home, to our sense of home and our sense of security. And a lot of people have a really hard time with the sense of home and a sense of being secure, a sense of being safe. I have found for myself that a sense of being safe does not have to be this whole big thing that I'm working on carrying around. I can build these little tiny moments of feeling safe in my own body, and I can build upon them until I have little blocks of feeling safe. And the more I have, the safer and more secure I begin to feel in my own body. So thinking about being right here in this moment, maybe even saying to yourself, right in this moment, all of my needs are met. And thinking about all the tension that we carry around in our hips, in our lower back, sometimes in our stomachs. Maybe we have some gripping in our thighs, starting to bring softness and space to the hips, to your grounding. Maybe even thinking about the soles of your feet, bringing some softness to the soles of the feet. Checking in on this space and having an internal experience. I'm here to guide you, but you're looking inside. Find where you are holding your tension. Maybe it's the soles of your feet. Maybe you grip around your ankles or your knees. Look, find, and see if you can soften. Find that union, the mind-body connection. Find the places of your body that have messages to give you. And listen. Be a dear friend to your body. Listen in. Meet your body without judgment. Give it a little kindness. Perhaps beginning to feel the weight of gravity drawing you down to the ground. Imagine looking up at a clear blue sky far above you. I'm going to read from the Radiant Sutra. Adorable one, sit or lie down, completely immobile, beholding the cloudless sky. Or if there are clouds, the sky beyond. As vastness envelops you, the body vanishes. Thoughts forget to come. In this moment, you are the nature of the great sky. So if you ever lay down on the earth and looked up at a sky, and just gotten lost forgotten all time and worries and looking up, absorbed in the sky. Maybe you were laying on a beach. Maybe you were in a garden. As a child, I spent countless hours staring up at the clouds and naming the clouds and giving them shapes and giving them stories. I'd write little plays with the shapes of the clouds in the sky. No concept of time. Just lost in the sky and the clouds and the shapes. So imagine you're lying under a vast, beautiful blue sky. Maybe there are clouds, maybe there's not. Paint in a beautiful space with a calming blue sky. Maybe you can imagine a soft breeze touching your skin, the warmth of the sun. Maybe you can smell the smells of the place you've chosen. And if thoughts or distractions come in and interrupt, imagine attaching them to a cloud far, far away and allowing that cloud to just gently float by. Returning again to the vastness of a deep, calming blue sky. Thinking about the vastness of the sky, and perhaps you've begun to feel a little more open, a little more expansive than just this physical body. Imagine that you also have long, strong roots from your spine reaching down into the dark soil below. So beginning to connect with this opposite sensation, the sensation of open blue vastness of the sky, and then the sensation of deep, strong, grounding roots rooting down deep into the dark soil, tying you to the earth. And just like a lotus that has its roots deep in the mud so that it can blossom and bloom towards the light, connect with this concept of rooting down and drawing nutrients from our darkness, drawing lessons, drawing our life force from our darkness so that our lightness can shine through more clearly and grow and blossom. Becoming more and more comfortable with holding space for these sensations of opposites. Perhaps we have these dark memories or dark spaces, things that still bring us the sensation of shame or fear. We can hold space for this. We can learn to accept parts of ourselves, parts of our stories that are a little harder, a little darker. And it's not that we are giving permission for the world to have been crappy to us. It's that we're giving ourselves permission to let go of the burden of when the world was crappy to us. That burden, that constant, repetitive pattern in our body, in our mind, in our physical, in all our layers of ourself. We can let that go and wrap the experience in a little love and compassion, our own love and compassion. And put down the burden of the story. Let it go. And not thinking about what we need to learn from the darkness, what it is. Trust in our intuition, trust in our body knowing what we need to do. Take the mind out of the problem. Take the cognitive head out of the equation. Let the body let go. Let the body release the burden. Let the body begin to accept the darkness so it can soften and grow toward the lightness. And then take a few more moments, a few more breaths, grounding down, rooting down into the earth, and expanding up towards that beautiful blue sky above you. Grounding down and softening out. Opposite sensations. close to 60 minutes. So if you have somewhere you need to go or you're ready to be done, begin to follow us out of this position, or if you are in a wonderful place and you want to stay a little longer, feel free to switch us off. Stay as long as you need. And when you come out of this pose, bring sensation to the physical body in this present moment time as slow as you went in. So begin to feel your body touching the ground. Begin to feel the tips of your toes and the tips of your fingers. Maybe you can feel the weight of the blanket. And if your eyes have been closed, perhaps just blinking them open a little bit at a time, like you're peeking out. Taking in the surroundings, softening into the sense of sight as well. And then take some time curling into a ball, bringing a knee in at a time to the chest and curling in to a little tiny ball. Going to whichever side is calling to you in a fetal position. And connecting with the fetal position, grounding down and arriving back in the room in this present moment in time. Connecting with the concept of the fetal position. So we come to a fetal position to remind ourselves of a time in the womb. A time when all of our needs were met and we had not judged ourselves as negative or positive. We were simply a little spark of life. We come to this pose to remind ourselves that that spark of life exists within us, unchanged by our experiences. Come to this pose and find your light within. That little spark of you. And then perhaps thinking of whatever you might need to soften and release onto the mat. Because when we bring ourselves to a seat, we're bringing ourselves to a fresh breath, and every fresh breath is a moment to begin again, to start over. Maybe you can come to a seat and let go of one of those negative stories we tell ourselves, one of those harsh judgments, any of those cruel words that we use to ourselves. Imagine leaving them on the mat, for they no longer serve you, and bringing yourself up to a seated position. Bring your hands to prayer and heart space. And connect with bringing your left and right sides to meet in front of your heart. This gesture of accepting ourselves as whole and complete, precisely as we are. May you spend the rest of your day feeling strong in the back, like you have your own back, allowing your light to shine forth from your heart. May we all know love, light, and connection. Thanks for joining us. And Kaylee is sound asleep because this is our first complete week over at the tavern doing construction. And we have blisters and sore muscles, and she is exhausted. So I'm going to spend a little time